James Webb Space Telescope spotted a large object about 10 light years away moving toward Earth. The posts claim that the telescope captured the object changing its trajectory.
It began as a single light, a strange visitor from the dark between stars. But now, it's not alone. NASA's latest deep space scans have revealed something astonishing. 9 unknown objects trailing 3 I/ATLAS, the interstellar comet racing through our solar system. Are they fragments, companions, or the remnants of something built?
Well, between, I would say, 30 to 40% that it's not a natural object.
For the first time in history, scientists are watching not 1, but 10 interstellar bodies crossing our sky. What they've found challenges every assumption about comets, alien technology, and the boundaries of our solar system. The stranger in the dark. In early 2025, telescopes across the world locked onto a faint point of light gliding through the void. At first, astronomers thought it was just another comet, a frozen traveler looping through its usual orbit around the sun. But within weeks, the data broke every rule. Its speed was far too high. Its orbit didn't close around our sun, but instead sliced through it, a hyperbolic path that would send it back into interstellar space. Its name, 3I/ATLAS, the third confirmed interstellar object ever discovered. From the first day of observation, it stood apart. Comets from our solar system always follow the same physics. They warm, they vent, they curve gently around the sun, and they eventually return. But 3I/ATLAS ignored that choreography. It came from nowhere we could trace, moving on a trajectory no gravitational body could control. It wasn't one of ours. It was a foreign messenger, a fragment of another solar system, passing through like a ghost in motion. Then came the discovery that changed everything. As NASA's Pan-STARRS and Atlas survey systems refined their scans, they detected faint reflections, small, fast-moving points lagging behind the main comet. Not 1, not 2, but 9 of them. They appeared to be clustered along the same path, traveling at nearly the same speed, like a formation of debris or something more deliberate. Suddenly, 3I/ATLAS was no longer a lone wanderer. It was a procession. These trailing companions raised a terrifying possibility. Was this comet shedding fragments as it broke apart? Or were these objects part of something larger, an interstellar fleet of natural or artificial origin? The distinction matters. If they are fragments, we are witnessing a breakup that began light years away. But if they are separate bodies, moving in coordination, then 3I/ATLAS may not be a comet at all. It might be a carrier. Astronomers quickly turned the world's most powerful instruments toward the trail: the Hubble Space Telescope, the James Webb, Gemini South, and the European Very Large Telescope. What they found deepened the mystery. The objects were faint but consistent. They shared the same velocity vector, suggesting they weren't random debris. They were traveling together, synchronized in a way that defied chaotic motion. And so the questions began to multiply. Could these be remnants of a shattered planet from another star system? Or the last surviving pieces of an alien probe, fractured, yet still following their path with mechanical precision? If one visitor from the stars can come this close, how many more are passing unseen through the night? If this truly is a convoy from beyond our system, what message is it bringing, and why now, when humanity finally has the tools to see it? Not our first, but the strangest yet. Interstellar visitors were once the stuff of science fiction. For generations, astronomers imagined our solar system as a walled garden, an island adrift in a quiet ocean of stars, untouched by travelers from beyond. That illusion shattered in 2017 when the first true outsider arrived. 1I/Oumuamua. It came without warning, a glint of light slicing through the sky at speeds no local rock could reach. It had no tail, no vapor, no dust, only a metallic sheen that brightened and dimmed like a mirror turning in the dark. When it accelerated slightly against the sun's pull, the equations stopped working. Some scientists blamed invisible jets of gas. Others wondered aloud whether the object might not be natural at all. 2 years later came 2I/Borisov, and with it, relief. Here was a familiar shape, a comet with a glowing tail and the usual spray of ice and dust. But that comfort lasted only until its chemistry was revealed. The ratios of carbon monoxide and water vapor didn't resemble anything found in our solar system. They belonged to a colder birthplace, one where starlight was faint and ancient ice never melted. Borisov had been forged near a dying sun, perhaps billions of years before Earth even existed, and just as suddenly as it appeared, it vanished back into the dark. For 4 quiet years, the sky remained empty of outsiders until the arrival of 3 I/A TLAS. At first it looked familiar, another icy wanderer with a coma, a tail, and a gentle green glow, but soon its behavior began to slip from every known pattern. Its tail flickered, split, and reformed without rhythm. Its light curve pulsed irregularly, as if something within it rotated unevenly or reflected light from multiple angles. And when astronomers modeled its trajectory, they discovered something deeply unsettling. The expected push from vapor jets was missing. Comets, by nature, are restless. They breathe, sputter, and drift under the sun's heat. But Atlas was different. It moved like a stone pulled purely by gravity, steady and unwavering. For an active comet, that was impossible, unless it was far heavier than it appeared, made of material far denser than ice, or something else entirely, was dictating its path. Each clue, its strange light, its mass, its motion, pointed to a kind of object we had never catalogued before. It was neither comet nor asteroid, but something in between, an interstellar hybrid whose physics didn't match any model. And then came the discovery that changed everything. 9 smaller bodies were found traveling behind it in near-perfect formation, their spacing constant, their motion synchronized, as if following the same invisible command. Dr. Avi Loeb of Harvard, long known for challenging conventional boundaries, offered a theory that divided the scientific world. Perhaps Atlas was a fragment of a larger technological structure, a piece of something once designed for travel, maybe even a relic of a civilization that no longer exists. His reasoning was simple but profound. Nature creates chaos, but technology seeks precision. We must keep an open mind, he said. The universe may be old, but intelligence leaves signatures that physics alone cannot explain. At first, the idea was dismissed as bold speculation. Yet as more data arrived and the 9 companions continued to move in flawless harmony, the skepticism began to falter. Nothing else in the record behaved this way. If 3I Atlas is more than just rock and ice, if it is evidence of something once engineered, now adrift across light years, then our solar system is not simply being visited. It is being reminded, somewhere beyond the stars, something built this traveler, and for reasons we may never understand, it has finally come home. The green glow mystery. Every comet tells a story in light. The color of its tail, the shimmer of its halo, the faint breath of its gas, all of it becomes a fingerprint written across space. But when astronomers turned their telescopes toward 3I ATLAS, that fingerprint was unreadable. Under the silent dark of the cosmos, it blazed in a shade of green so vivid and pure that many thought it had to be an illusion. No comet had shone that way in decades, and certainly none from beyond the stars. In ordinary comets, this emerald color comes from diatomic carbon, tiny molecules that split apart when sunlight hits them, producing that familiar green glow. It's a reaction so routine that scientists can identify it almost instantly. But with ATLAS, the chemistry didn't match. Spectrometers across the world scanned the light, searching for the distinct pattern of C2 molecules, and found almost nothing. The spectral lines were missing, yet the color filled the sky. The light was real, but its source was unknown. Weeks passed, and still the glow did not fade. It persisted through temperature shifts, through distance, through solar flares that should have stripped it away. The James Webb Space Telescope detected faint, unfamiliar infrared emissions, energy signatures that didn't belong to any known compound. It was as though the comet were composed of materials forged under a different kind of radiation, born in the furnace of another sun, and frozen in place long before our own solar system existed. Some researchers offered natural theories. Maybe carbon dioxide ice was breaking down under extreme heat, releasing radicals that mimic the glow of carbon gas. Others thought sunlight scattering off alien dust might bend into green wavelengths, an optical trick born from unfamiliar minerals. But these answers didn't hold up under observation. The color remained constant. The spectrum stayed stable. Whatever was causing it wasn't temporary, it was fundamental. Then, during the September lunar eclipse, something remarkable happened. As the moon turned crimson, telescopes and backyard cameras around the world caught a single point of emerald burning in the distance. ATLAS, brighter than ever. It shimmered like a lantern in the dark, alive and defiant against the shadow of the Earth. The data showed that the glow wasn't just reflection, it was emission, the object itself releasing light in frequencies never before measured from a comet. Every photon from that light carries a signature of chemistry alien to our solar system, perhaps older than our sun itself. If those molecules truly formed around another star, ATLAS isn't just a visitor. It's a messenger from a world that died before ours was born. And the 9 smaller companions following behind it share that same luminous hue, each glowing faintly in rhythm, as if bound to the same cosmic heartbeat. If the green light of Atlas is more than coincidence, if it's meant to be seen, then the question becomes almost unbearable. Are we watching chemistry or communication? Because sometimes the universe doesn't whisper, it glows. The missing push. Most comets are restless. They hiss, spin, and fight against the pull of gravity as their frozen cores awaken under sunlight. Each jet of vapor acts like a miniature thruster, nudging the body ever so slightly off its course. Astronomers can track those tiny pushes with exquisite precision, and from them, they learn how a comet breathes and moves. But when they turned those same measurements toward 3 IATLAS, the data returned something they could not accept. It was perfect, despite the streaming gas, despite the shimmering tail and expanding coma. There was no measurable acceleration. None. Thousands of readings from NASA's Deep Space Network and observatories across the world confirmed it. Atlas was moving as if it were carved from solid geometry, its path obeying gravity and nothing else. The precision was uncanny, almost surgical. It followed its predicted trajectory with the steadiness of a machine. If the object were enormous, perhaps it could make sense. A nucleus several kilometers wide and weighing tens of billions of tons could shrug off the gentle thrust of venting gas. Yet even that explanation failed to comfort most astronomers, because comets that large are usually fragile, prone to fracturing or shedding dust. Atlas showed no such signs. It was composed, stable, balanced. Then came a more troubling theory. What if it wasn't mass holding Atlas steady, but symmetry? If the object vented evenly in opposite directions, every push would cancel the other, producing flawless motion, no wobble, no drift, no deviation. That would be like nature balancing on the edge of a razor blade. The odds of it happening by chance are infinitesimal. A few researchers began whispering about something called self-stabilizing geometry, a design principle known to engineers, not to nature. It describes a structure so perfectly shaped that any disturbance automatically corrects itself. It doesn't need engines, it doesn't need guidance. It simply stays balanced, forever. If Atlas were made that way, it could travel for millions of years without ever losing its course. Even more unsettling was the behavior of its 9 companions. Each one followed the same arc. Each one moved without the slightest hint of solar influence. They stayed evenly spaced, forming a chain that curved across the void like pearls on an invisible thread. Their flight was silent, steady, and coordinated. To some, that still meant fragments of a single breakup, coincidentally aligned. To others, it meant something else entirely, that we were not watching the debris of a comet, but the remnants of a machine built with intention. A machine that might not even know it was being observed. Because if the missing push isn't really missing, if it's controlled, then we are witnessing not the randomness of physics, but the residue of design. And that means someone, somewhere, once set this thing in motion. The debate over size and origin. In the quiet war of scientific debate, size is everything. It defines how bright an object appears, how strong its gravity is, and how long it can endure the violence of the sun. When Hubble first captured 3 IATLAS, astronomers estimated a nucleus about 5 kilometers across, large, but not historic. Then came the mass analysis, and suddenly everything changed. The numbers didn't match. The comet's lack of acceleration suggested a weight tens of billions of tons heavier than expected. For that to be true, its composition would have to be unlike anything we've ever encountered, denser than ice, tougher than rock. It would have to be made of something almost engineered. Harvard's Avi Loeb and his research group studied the data and proposed a radical thought. Maybe Atlas isn't a comet at all, but the remnant of a metallic body, perhaps the exposed heart of a dead world. Such material would easily resist the sun's heat, remaining solid where normal comets would crumble. It would glow differently, reflect differently, and behave exactly as ATLAS does. Others countered, suggesting it might just be cloaked in dust so thick that it hid its true size. But that didn't explain why its 9 companions mirrored its movements, with precision that borders on choreography. If they were simple fragments, their paths would slowly drift apart. They haven't. Their spacing remains consistent, their alignment perfect, their movement almost serene. At the European Space Agency, computer simulations modeled them as a fragment train, debris from a violent collision that happened before it entered our solar system. But those simulations couldn't reproduce the even distances or the synchronized arcs. Each attempt fell short of reality. The natural models predicted chaos. Atlas and its companions displayed order. That order makes some scientists whisper about something far older than our civilization, a convoy of interstellar relics, perhaps once part of a larger object that shattered but still obeys ancient programming. Their movement might not be intelligence in action, but the echo of it, guidance systems still working after unimaginable time, running on energy reserves that defy decay. NASA avoids speculation, sticking to language like co-moving bodies of uncertain nature. Yet among internal memos and conferences, one phrase keeps reappearing: the most coordinated debris formation ever observed. That phrasing alone tells its own quiet story, one of disbelief slowly turning into wonder. As Atlas approaches the sun, its survival will decide the argument. If it breaks apart, we'll know it was fragile and natural. But if it endures, gliding through fire and emerging whole, we may have to rewrite the line between creation and coincidence. Because whatever Atlas is made of, it was built to last. The Silent Fleet, October 30th, 2025. Across the Earth, observatories brace for the moment. The interstellar visitor, 3IA-TLAS, is nearing perihelion, its closest encounter with the sun. It moves through space like a blade of green fire, trailed by 9 companions that follow with absolute precision. The world watches as 10 distant lights cross into history. As the comet nears the sun, its glow intensifies. Cameras aboard space telescopes record a shimmering arc of light, the companions glinting behind it like sequins in the blackness. For a brief window, faint pulses appear along their path, flashes of reflected light repeating at nearly even intervals. Astronomers can't agree whether they're data noise or something more deliberate. The pattern holds, then fades as the smaller bodies vanish into the sun's glare. Hours later, when the light clears, ATLAS is still there, scarred, darker but intact. It has survived the furnace, leaving behind a thread of ultraviolet dust that spirals outward across millions of kilometers. That thread, invisible to the naked eye, glows faintly under sensitive instruments, a whisper of light marking where the fleet has passed. NASA and the European Southern Observatory are already mapping it. Within that trail are clues to the chemistry of ATLAS, to the story of its formation, and to the truth of its companions. The ratios of oxygen, carbon, and trace metals in the dust don't belong to our solar neighborhood. They point to a colder, older star, one that might have died before the Earth ever formed. For scientists, it is a revelation. For the rest of us, it is a reminder. The universe is not empty. It is alive with motion and memory. Our skies are not quiet. They are filled with wanderers that carry the fingerprints of forgotten worlds. As Atlas drifts beyond Neptune's orbit, its tail fading into the dark, One idea lingers in the mind of every astronomer who watched it pass. If 10 objects could travel together in such perfect silence, how many more have already come and gone unseen? How many fleets have crossed our solar system, leaving no trace but questions? Perhaps the next one is already here, gliding through the void beyond Saturn, invisible for now. Perhaps it will not burn green but blue, or red, or white. Perhaps it will not pass alone. Because when the universe decides to send a message, it doesn't always use words. Sometimes, it sends silence in formation and waits to see who notices. The story of 3I/ATLAS and its 9 mysterious followers is still unfolding. NASA and the world's observatories continue to gather data as it drifts beyond the sun's reach, carrying secrets from another system or another intelligence. What do you think these objects really are? Debris, or something built long ago and left to wander the galaxy? Tell us your theory in the comments, and if you want to keep exploring the mysteries that hide in the dark between stars, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the next visitor might already be here, and it could change everything we know about life itself.